What do you think when we talk about fasting? You must be so familiar with that kind of tradition. As we know, we Indonesian people who have been so familiar with that kind of tradition, as Indonesia is the biggest Muslim country in the world, so every year there are lots of Muslim people who do the fasting. And we know fasting is where we don't eat and or drink within a day. But the question is fasting only done in a Muslim? Apparently no. There are also another religion who do the fasting as their tradition. And that tradition also derived and developed from year to year, even from centuries. It also includes ideology, belief, and culture. In Christianity, the fasting tradition is quite unique. Unlike other religion who has a detailed and structured schedule of fasting, in Christianity, there is no such a detailed schedule based on the Bible. Usually Christian people do the fasting just in the special occasion. One of the example is fasting before the Easter. And if we look in the type of church, apparently there are different types of fasting. Because there is no exact and detailed way of fasting in the Bible, so there are lots of interpretation in different church. Different churches like Methodist Church or Calvinist or Lutheran or Reformed, they have their own interpretation of fasting. So in this vlog, we will see deeper the fasting tradition in Presbyterian Church. Before we go to the Presbyterian Church fasting, we have to know the little history of Presbyterian Church. So Presbyterian Church is formed in the English Civil War. At that time, Christian people separate themselves from other people. And from time to time in Scotland, they developed until today we call Presbyterian Church. If you look at the Presbyterian Church ideology, the center of the fellowship is the preach, the sermon. Unlike another church, which the center of the fellowship is the praise, the worship, or the thanksgiving. Actually, Presbyterian Church also don't have the exact schedule of fasting. Even this type of fasting can be diverse from one pastor to another, from one group to another. So because of that kind of diversity, let's just focus on the fasting tradition before Easter.
Saya Pendeta Danieli yang melayani di Gereja Kristus Ketapang. Di gereja kami Presbyterian Sinodal. Biasanya kami ada puasa itu 1 tahun sekali. Jadi setelah kebangkitan, lalu kan ada kenaikan ya di hari ke-40. Nah, antara hari ke-40 sampai hari ke-50, hari Pentakosta itu kami ada doa malam. Nah, selama 10 malam di doa malam itu, nah jemaat dianjurkan untuk berpuasa.
So in Christian belief, when Jesus go back to heaven and 10 days after it, Jesus gave the people a Holy Spirit. It is the Spirit for them to have courage to share the gospel throughout the world, because at the time, many people dislike Christianity. So today's Christian people do the fasting to commemorate that moment, the moment where Holy Spirit overwhelmed the Christian people at that time. And today, fasting still have the same purpose, which is for us to be closer to God, to be closer to Holy Spirit, so that we can live a better life. We can be more wise, we have the peace and that fulfillment.
Nah, jadi memang intinya tidak seragam gitu puasa itu ya, dan maknanya juga beda-beda. Ada yang hanya tradisi, ada juga yang percaya untuk mendapat kuasa ketika mereka menyanyi atau memuji Tuhan. Kira-kira itu sih teman-teman ya. Makasih.
And if people from other countries, or maybe we can say people from other religions, see the tradition of fasting in Christian, they might be a bit confused, or I think it is something new for them, because they are accustomed to the very neat, very disciplined and tight schedule of fasting. And things that I like from this tradition is the purpose of the fasting itself. As we know, we tend to do the ritual just as the ritual, without feelings, without understanding or the historical background behind it. So by having no structured way of fasting, we do the fasting purely based on necessity, which is to be closer to God. So we don't do it as the rituals or as a must or as a obligation.